Okay, so we've already seen that Pericles' arrival as the #1 statesman in Athens had a really negative impact on the relationship of Athens with her own allies. In many ways, you could say that Pericles, far more than Cimon, had changed the Delian League from an alliance of equal states under the hegemony of Athens into a very definite Athenian empire. Remember the trends that we'd already seen from the early Delian League, and how the early Delian League had benefited the Athenians, not only in the arrangements and the actions of the Delian League, but also in the way that members had been forced to become members of the Delian League, forced to contribute tribute, the imposition of garrisons. And remember, the whole idea that the Delian League had been kept even though Persia was no longer a threat. On top of that, the treasury had been moved, the congresses are scrapped. Athens had directly taken control of the league, pretty obviously. In addition to this, we've also got the idea that Pericles continued to abuse the position of the allies. No more so in how he started spending that treasury money once it had been moved. Remember, he'd solved a lot of Athens' problems using Delian League tribute, particularly the naval training, the 20,000 Athenians employed in the democracy, and the big headline grabber, the building program and the construction of the Parthenon. Remember, who pays for it all? The allies do. So the trends we've got, we can see Athens becoming increasingly aggressive, the allies losing more and more independence, and Thucydides telling us that the Athenians were always severe and exacting. And it's that severe and exacting that your next key topic on the inscriptions really sort of pays attention to. How is this Athenian empire actually functioning, and how is it affecting the allies? Well, remember, the Athenians use a range of methods to control their allies. First of all is that court system, the idea that Athens takes the judicial control away from the allies. Xenophon tells us in his pamphlet, The Old Oligarch, that the Athenians made money from the allies, the 1% tax at the Piraeus, the court fees, the visitors needing food and accommodation. And it also centralises Athenian control so that the Athenians can administer the allied cities from home. The most damning sentence is one of the later ones, where he says that the allies must suck up to the Athenian people. We've already talked about cleruchies in previous demonstrations, in the previous lessons. What about the religion, though? Remember, Athens takes religious control over her allies as well. What this means is that, remember, tribute and land had already been given to Athena. In addition, the treasury was directly under Athena's protection. But it's not only that, it's through the use of religious festivals. Athens forces her allies to participate in them, the Great Panathenaea and the Dionysia, but also to contribute tokens of submission. We've talked, remember, about the cow, the phallus, and the suit of armour. What Athens also does is she takes the control over the cult of Apollo on Delos. Now, your 7 inscriptions, remember, come from locations. They've got funny names because they're actually places. 5 of them are locations. 2 of them are actual sort of laws concerning various issues. The easiest way to revise these inscriptions, some of you get a bit confused about them, but the easiest way is to use Erythrai as a base. The reason why I say use the Erythrai decree as a base is because it's the one that I think is the most repressive out of all of your location settlements. Erythrai forced democracy on the settlement. There was also an oath to Athens. The tribute was to be supplied in grain. But then the other key thing as well, garrisons are forced onto the location. All key decisions made by the Athenians. In addition to that, Erythrai had no control over who they could exile or whether they could bring in any of their exiles. Now, the way to revise these is to compare them with your other inscriptions. So Miletus, for instance, is pretty much the same, but just with the addition of court fees to the Athenians. Kolophon, again, very similar, but the idea of a forced democracy and that real easy peasy thing to remember, the idea that Athens asks the settlement to love the Athenian people. And then finally, Khalkis. The Khalkis decree is really quite straightforward, again very similar to Erythrai, and it again imposes an oath of loyalty to Athens. So try and revise these all sort of together. One of the other events you've got to look at that's always associated with these decrees is the Revolt of Samos. And Samos is one of Athens' great allies. Samos shows Athens interfering in a dispute between two members of its dealing league, Samos and Miletus. Basically, Samos doesn't do what the Athenians want them to do, and as a result, Athens takes the city and reduces it to tribute-paying status. The reason why Revolt of Samos is really important is, firstly, it showed Athens interfering in the affairs of its allies, even preventing one going to war against the other. And also the fact that Samos was a really powerful city and the Athenians easily defeated it. Now, two of the decrees are your Coinage and your Kleinias decrees. Both of these concern money. The Coinage decree does exactly what it says on the tin. It's forcing the allies to accept Athenian money and use Athenian weights and measures. The Kleinias decree is all about tightening up tribute collection. It imposes fines for non-payment of tribute and also imposes the offerings to be made at the Athenian festivals. In short, the Coinage and the Kleinias decrees clearly show that the allies are essentially cash cows in the view of the Athenians. Now, you whack all these things together, the idea of Pericles' policies and his actions, the religion, judicial controls, the garrisons, the inscriptions, and then those Coinage and Kleinias decrees, and it's pretty easy to see why the Corinthian delegate at the Allied Congress calls Athens a dictator city.